Hi guys, welcome to season 3 of Fashionably Purnia. I can't believe we're on season 3 because when I was doing season 1, I was like, maybe this is just a one season wonder. But I'm
You
really,
are so wrong.
I know I
And
was
I'm
so
so
wrong.
happy.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to start the season with Dia. I mean, this could not be more beautiful and gorgeous and pertinent and everything. I mean, the best way to start this season. Thank you, Dia, so much.
Thank you,
You don't
Parnya.
really need an intro. She doesn't really need an intro, obviously. But apart from being obviously an amazing actor and model and icon of fashion and luxury and so many different things, sustainability, she is doing incredible work with the UN and the Wildlife
Trust of
Trust
India.
of India. And I'm going to let Dia explain her roles with these two organizations a little better.
Okay, can I give you a
Yeah.
few compliments before I,
No,
introduce?
no, don't.
I want to.
No.
I can't miss this opportunity.
Acha, okay.
I really admire the fact that you use your voice the way you do. The
You're so
kind of
kind.
conversations you've had across the 2 seasons. I've heard a few. I promise I haven't heard all, but the ones that I have heard were so insightful, so meaningful, and so wonderfully accessible. Sometimes some conversations can become very inaccessible. So thank you.
Oh, that's really
And thank
nice.
you for having me. I'm very happy to start the season off.
Means a lot coming from you, obviously, because I've been a fan and I've been following you since forever. I guess since you won your first international beauty pageant. I think when everyone discovered you, that's when I discovered you as well. And I guess we both were very young then. And I think it's so nice to kind of see somebody in the public eye over so many years grow and evolve and also stay completely relevant for all the right reasons.
I can say all of this for you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, exactly. But like your journey, everybody is watching, which is so nice. And okay, let's just start first. I want to just put on record, what is your role with the UN?
One is I'm an ambassador for the UN Environment Program. All the advocacy work that I do for the United Nations Environment Program, I'm in my 8th year with them now. It's done out of sheer love and respect and appreciation for the extraordinary work they're doing and the science that they're making accessible to civil society. That's actually one of the reasons why I even started advocacy, because I realized that there's a bunch of really great people doing really great work, but they're doing it in silos and their voices are not reaching mainstream society.
Yeah.
And that if we could be a conduit, we could be, the link between these amazing people and what they're learning and discovering with mainstream society, we can really bring big change.
Yeah.
And you start seeing the problems more clearly and you understand how everything is interlinked. But I think what is most powerful about this job is that you get more access to solutions than you could have possibly ever imagined. There's like daily doses of inspiration, which I think everyone in the environment movement needs regularly, given the crisis we are living through. And here I'm talking about war and I'm talking about civil unrest and social inequity. The second role that I have with the UN is as an SDGs advocate, which essentially is the Sustainable Development Goals. I work directly with the UN Secretary General, and he has 17 advocates on the planet. And we have the mandate to take the goals and make them accessible to people. So, to use whatever platform we have and whatever means we have to further the Sustainable Development Goals. Gender equality is one of them, climate action is one of them, zero hunger is one of them, peace is one of them, and partnerships for goals is one of them. Now, this conversation would qualify as partnerships for goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Because you're getting the word out.
Yes.
For what your goals are.
Yes.
Okay. And then with the Indian
Wildlife Trust of
Trust of
India,
India, yeah.
I've been an ambassador with them for over a decade now.
Wow.
And I actually started work with Bittu Segal with the Sanctuary Foundation. I actually learned a lot traveling to the forests of India with him. And subsequently, I encountered another crazy man who's also my hero and mentor, Vivek Menon. And I call him crazy because the kind of work he does and he did when he was younger takes a certain amount of craziness to do. He was protecting and conserving our forests at risk to his life. He was doing undercover operations to fight off some serious criminals. And I think this work also helps you understand the link between forests, wildlife, human trafficking, drugs and narcotics, arms and ammunition, and geopolitics, and how all of that is kind of interconnected. So when you save the tiger, you're not just saving a tiger, you're saving the entire biodiversity that is the home for the tiger. So the
Yeah,
forest
exactly.
that births our rivers. And there's a very powerful catch line that we say as a part of Kids for Tigers programs at Sanctuary. It goes, Jangal Nadi ki maa hai. So we help making conservation and efforts of conservation accessible to children, and that's really our primary engagement. With Wildlife Trust of India, we've taken CEOs to the forest. We do it now biannually
Nice.
because we feel that you can't make people feel a certain way about nature if they're sitting in a air-conditioned concrete building around a desk, and in a conference room. We take them to a forest, and Mother Nature does the work that she does quite effortlessly. And we've managed to convert some very hard-lined businessmen in our country to become champions of the work that we do in biodiversity protection.
You were interested in this and advocating for all these things before it was, like, say, mandated by a government, or before it became like a trending hashtag on social media. First, I want to ask how you even got into it, because with actors and with film industries, people are very self-consumed.
And insular.
Yeah, exactly. So how did this interest even develop?
I grew up in Hyderabad. I went to a J. Krishnamurti school. So I was raised in a very different mindset.
Yeah.
I wasn't raised to be a consumerist and totally disconnected from nature, like most urban kids can be.
Yeah.
Not for a fault of theirs, but for just the
That's just the
system.
environment, yeah.
The environment and the education system.
Yeah.
The education system that's, cutting you down to size, it's grading you, it's ranking you, it's teaching you ambition. So basically achievement over others. So
Right.
that in itself is, in my humble opinion, aggressive. To take pride in aggression,
Yeah,
in animosity,
exactly.
in
Yeah.
kind of being, better than or above somebody else. Anyway, the point is that Hyderabad was beautiful. I had a lot of outdoor experiences as a child. I grew up in a home where we had big fruit-bearing trees, climbed them, spent watching the seasons change,
Yeah.
discovering and learning about birds and vegetables and plants and animals. And we grew up with many, many animals in the house. We had 2 German shepherds at home, and they would find injured birds and bring them to my mother. So they were gentle souls.
Yeah.
And my mom would take them in and nurture them back to health and set them free.
Yeah.
And my dad was very curious about many things, spent a lot of time outdoors, my biological dad. And he was a sailor, he trekked. So my childhood was spent outdoors and with nature. And school was really about connecting with nature. So we were composting, we were growing food, we were talking and discussing consumerism in the 80s. And I remember waiting for my pencil to get that small before I, threw it away or stopped using it. Or just becoming very conscious and mindful about how I was consuming things. My mother also was always very, very particular about not being wasteful. I grew up wearing my cousins and my friends' hand-me-ups. We don't call them downs anymore, great?
Yeah.
But when we were growing up, they were called hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
My mom would have 7 or 8 dresses tailored for me in a year, and that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of consciousness in the home space and in school. But Purnia, like many of us, I think when I, got sucked into this world of winning the title and then suddenly became a commodity and I was being used to sell products, I think I lost touch with that side of myself. And many a time it felt uncomfortable and it felt unnatural for me because it was not a part of my system.
yeah.
It wasn't innate to me because that's not how I was raised.
Yeah.
But it was, empowering me financially, and I was enjoying that financial independence. And I started working very young. I was 16 when I started working and earning my own money. And I enjoyed it because it gave me the power to buy the things that I wished for and I wanted without having to worry about how expensive it was. Because I grew up hearing my mother say, "Bahut zyada hai, nahi lo." You know what I'm saying? I remember, buying more shoes than I could possibly ever wear in this lifetime. But, even then, Purnia, I never quite felt comfortable buying very expensive things. Not because I couldn't afford them, but because I didn't understand them too well. I didn't understand high luxury items too well. I was comfortable buying things that were made locally,
Yeah.
that were less expensive,
Yeah.
that I really enjoyed wearing. And because also my mind was changing so quickly that I knew I wouldn't hold on to something for too long.
Exactly. Exactly.
When I was about 24 or 25, this is after I lost my Abba, my stepfather, I had add a personality, like a
Shift.
shift,
Yeah.
or let's just say grief leads you inwards. And I think being in the film business, like I mentioned earlier, it's very insular. People are constantly protecting you. You don't really get a chance to interact with reality.
Yeah.
And it was after Abba passed away, I was like, what am I doing with myself? And what does all of this amount to? I think death kind of opens that door in your life and your mind. That's when I realized that I was being dishonest with myself. And I know that a deeper understanding of that only arrives in your 30s. All of us are navigating life in our 20s. We can't quite know
Exactly.
what's
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on. We're
Yeah.
just getting a sense of who
Yeah.
we are, or at least understanding what we don't want from
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So this was very definitive. This is what I don't want to do. I don't want to end up being a commodity.
Yeah.
I want substance and meaning, and I need to identify what my purpose is. And just around that time, I met Bittu Sehgal, and I started going into the forests, and I realized, oh, okay, it's clear that I have the gift of the gab. I am a powerful communicator.
Exactly.
How can I use this to make a difference?
Yeah.
And honestly, Purnia, for me, I think it's been life altering. I always say that the activist in you becomes more alive when you start seeking solutions. But I'm a better actor today because I'm an activist.
Yeah.
So, your empathy, what you draw from, what you're learning from, how you're understanding, life,
Yeah.
all comes from that.
Yeah. A couple of things. First of all, you're a wonderful communicator, but you're also like drop dead gorgeous, right? So it's true. When a message is coming from somebody who communicates and looks a certain way, more people are willing to hear.
Yeah.
So I'll give you
I'm not too sure whether it's working though.
It is.
I'll tell you
It
why.
is.
There are days when I feel like a big success, when
Yeah.
I see more people traveling with their own metal bottles, and I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
my madness is kind of
Yeah.
catching on. But when I see my peers and my friends still celebrate their children's birthdays as wastefully, as unmindfully,
Yeah.
with all those plastic balloons, I feel like an utter and total disaster, because I'm like, if my own colleagues and my own fraternity is not hearing me, then who am I reaching and who will listen to me?
You don't even realize who. I mean, like sometimes
No, but
people who you don't know
are listening more.
somehow absorb what you say so much better
Yeah.
because people around you take you for granted. People who are not close to you really recognize
Yeah.
what you have to say, you know?
But we must clarify why I have such a big problem with plastic balloons.
Why? Yeah, please tell us. Because I have a 2-year-old daughter and she loves balloons. So tell me, yeah.
So plastics go nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. They
They
stay on
stay
the
in
planet.
the environment
Yeah.
forever. Plastic microns have been found in what I and you would consider the safest place in the world, which is the placenta,
Yeah.
a woman's womb.
I've heard. Because it's in our food, right?
It's in the bloodstream of babies. It's in testicles, for all the men listening.
Yeah.
And the reason why plastic has permeated into our blood and our being is because our interaction with plastic has increased so much over the last 50 years. When we were growing up, plastic was not as pervasive as
No,
it's
it
become.
was not. Yeah.
Today, plastic is toys, plastic is like food. So
Containers,
when you containers,
which carry our food.
yeah,
Yeah.
everything. So water bottles, so packaged water, and something like balloons, plastic balloons are such an easy thing to say no to, right?
Yeah.
Because plastics are known to cause all kinds of diseases, including cancer and stroke and development and growing issues. So I think as conscious and aware individuals and parents who are raising children in a world that is living, like going through a crisis, we need to make better choices at an individual level and
Yeah.
say, okay, can I eliminate all those items of single use plastic that I don't need? Can I raise my child with as less interaction with plastic as possible? So
Yeah.
can I find substitutes for plastic with wood or cloth or other things?
And I guess like how you grew up, raise them with a certain amount of awareness.
Yeah, my little son,
know?
who's 3.5, will
Yeah.
tell you. I have a very funny anecdote. So we
Yeah.
went for this party, and very sweetly, the couple, when we were leaving, noticed that Avian was looking at one of their the plastic balloons that was shaped like a tiger. So they said, "Why don't you take this home?" He said, "No, thank you. It's made of plastic."
Yeah, it's amazing.
Kids get it.
Yeah.
It's the grown-ups that are harder
And I
to
think
change.
the younger the people are, the more conscious they are of everything, you know? I think as we get older, first of all, you were raised like this, and I was raised in Woodstock, which is in the mountains. And
Such
not
a
to say that I
beautiful
wasn't very
space.
wasteful in my 20s, I was, but I was raised also with a certain amount of awareness because I grew up in a very, like, I grew up in a jungle, basically,
Yeah,
you know?
it was beautiful.
But most people were not in our generation. Now, like Gen Z and younger, they are growing up with this awareness. This thing that your school had, now almost every school has.
Yeah.
This whole
Yeah, everybody's studying climate change.
which is
Everybody's
so
studying.
great. So I'm hoping that the future is better just because they are aware at a much younger age. A lot of things we have to teach ourselves, and we have to become aware ourselves.
I was doing a beach cleanup once, and I got back in the car. And
Yeah.
this was the early days of beach cleanups.
Yeah.
So Afroz was doing this massive beach cleanup in Warsaw, which I had taken part in. And Sajad Bhai, who's my driver, was with me. And he's been with me since I started my career. So he's literally seen me grow up.
Yeah.
So he said, "ये क्या कर रहे हैं आप लोग?" I said, "कचरा निकाल रहे हैं, प्लास्टिक है हर जगह." तो ये said, "प्लास्टिक का फैक्ट्री बंद कराओ ना, आप लोग कब तक साफ करेंगे? ये तो आता ही जाएगा, जब तक फैक्ट्री बंद नहीं होगी कुछ नहीं बदलने वाला है." ऐसे नहीं चाचा, लोग बदलेंगे तो शायद फैक्ट्रीज जो इंडस्ट्रीज है उनका सोचने का ढंग बदलेगा. He actually said something quite pertinent, Panya, in his innocence.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wisdom in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Plastics Treaty is reflective and evocative of.
Yeah.
You have a few companies in this world
Yeah.
that dominate the market, the world market.
Right.
Now, until these companies change, how are the vast majority of people who are struggling just to make ends meet and just to get their daily work done going to respond to this demand that we have of them to change the way they behave?
No, they're not gonna. It's
They're not going to be
possible.
able to. They don't have the time or the ability to. But yes, those who have privilege and who can become,
who can make different
Who can
choices
lead, yeah,
and do the
and-
research
and
to find
absolutely.
different things. Yeah.
or invest in companies that are making better choices,
yeah.
then we must.
There's pushback.
the
I'm
huge
sure.
pushback by
because
the
there's a lot
fossil
of
fuel
money
industry.
involved. Yeah,
Plastics are made with fossil fuels.
exactly.
So they're not willing to change, right? But what are these big companies saying? They're saying we will change provided we all come together. So there is this silver lining. Hopefully it'll happen.
Because what happens is if one does it, then their cost goes up. Being sustainable is very costly.
But
right?
not if everybody does it.
No, that's why. Because if their cost goes up, their profitability is less.
Yeah.
And they don't want somebody else's profitability to be more because they're still using plastic. So I understand why they want it to be an everyone thing. I get the
But
economics of
social
it.
media has been amazing.
Yeah.
How much of packaging it's exposed.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
what you were thinking you were having a cool drink from a tin can.
But under
which
ka
is
lining is
actually the
plastic, na? They do so much of this. Okay, let's talk about some fun things while we talk about sustainability. First, I want to ask, so this podcast, we are in the category of luxury, lifestyle, and fashion. I don't think there's a bigger luxury than your planet, like literally. And
What a good way to say it.
it's true. And that's why you were the perfect person for this podcast. But what are we leaving?
But before we talk about what
Yeah.
we're leaving, why don't we talk about what we have?
What do we have? Yeah.
We have everything.
We have everything
we have,
still.
Basically, we're born on a living planet that provided us clean air to breathe,
Yeah.
water to drink, food to eat, and shelter, and did not charge us for it.
Yeah.
We're the only species on the planet that has to pay for these things.
Exactly.
So we created systems that put price tags on food, on water, on shelter, and now apparently even on air.
Yeah, you need a purifier to breathe clean air in Bombay and Delhi, right? So
Yeah.
you're paying for clean air.
This incredible irony in just that.
Yeah.
Very few human beings have colonized the entire planet.
Yeah.
I think an Oxfam report indicated last year that 1% of the world's population controlled 97% of the world's money.
Crazy.
And what that has done is that it's created extraordinary inequality, is causing this triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. Each of these things kind of compound the impact of the other.
Exactly. They're all connected.
And unfortunately, those who will suffer the most and are suffering the most are the rest of us.
Yeah.
You know, the
Outside that 1%.
Yeah. Interestingly, the recent California fires were, I think, incredible example of how even that 1% is not going to be excluded.
Yeah.
Because
Eventually
when you
it'll catch up.
lose-
Yeah.
Yes, when you lose your home and you lose your family albums, you know, those physical photographs that came down generations,
Yeah.
that are burnt and charred, you start to place value in different things,
Yeah.
hopefully. Do you want to be consuming from global companies that are doing all kinds of things, or do you want to invest in that local brand that you know is using homegrown, pure, you know, ingredients
Exactly.
that individual genuinely cares about
Yeah.
and is willing to put their sweat and their equity and their blood
Yeah.
and their values into? So I feel like the shift that is happening is really of the consumer and the individual who's saying, okay, this is what colonization is doing.
Yeah.
This is what, you know, capitalism bereft of conscience has done to our planet and to our people. How do we change that? But the bigger question, Purnia, really is how long before we actually correct what is happening? Because if you look at global climate and the way temperatures have risen and the fact that we've broken every record in the last 5 years,
Yeah.
we're looking at a 3.5 degree change. Now, for those who understand what kind of an impact and difference that makes, that basically means, in simple English, more floods, more drought, more dryness, so more forest fires.
Fires. Yeah.
Basically, more loss of infrastructure, more loss of lives. So, when we talk about progress, should progress be defined as the Western form of
Exactly.
modernization?
Exactly.
Or should progress be defined by local indigenous knowledge, modern science, and our understanding of how, oh, by building this way, this is what happens, so
Yeah.
this is not how we should be building.
Exactly. Anywhere in the West or any other region, you cannot compare it to yours. Your culture is different. Your environment is different.
Your topography
the
is
needs are different. Topography is different. Everything has to be specific to where you are.
Yeah.
And I think the sooner people realize this, that there's no benchmark, a world benchmark that can be followed by everybody.
Yeah,
it's not
but
possible.
now, and if you don't have glass building high rises, you're not a modern city. You now need more air conditioning than you ever needed before because
Exactly.
you've heated up your cities like crazy. Of course, you've raised your trees down, but you've also built in a way where heat is trapped.
What can like well-meaning people who live in Bombay, Delhi, and big cities, what can they do to just help towards climate change, towards sustainability?
For those of us who have privilege, and when I say privilege, I also include time. I would like to only speak to parents, right?
Yeah.
If the health of your child and your child's life is your priority,
Right.
then you must make it your fundamental duty to your child to ensure you become more aware of what impacts the environment that you live in.
Okay.
So be aware of how polluted the air is.
Yeah.
Be aware of what is contributing to the pollution and take active steps to mitigate the issue. Refuse all single-use plastics.
Yeah. Simple.
2, start segregating waste at
Yeah.
source.
Yeah.
At home, at your office, at your factory, whatever.
Yeah.
3, switch from regular bulbs to LED bulbs.
Okay.
Use technology that is energy efficient. The fourth thing that I did was we went off the regular electricity grid and we've gone with Tata Power. I don't know what it is in different cities. So our electricity supply is totally clean.
Okay.
The fifth thing that we can all do is carry your own water. or
Yeah.
whatever.
That's all actors can
Stop-
also do.
Yeah, more of them are
I
doing
mean,
it now.
yeah,
I wish more would do. but
exactly.
try and make your workspaces, your home, your parties,
Yeah,
your
production houses
get-togethers.
can also like put like a,
everyone.
you know, like
More
a
and more
filter
people are
instead
doing
of having
that now.
plastic bottles.
So we
and-
have that a
yeah.
lot now. The sixth thing that I think we can all do is grow more trees.
Yeah.
Fruit-bearing trees or people or banyan, whatever, the local indigenous
Exactly. To that
trees that can
place. Yeah.
add biodiversity and then of course care for that tree. So one of the things I do is whenever I have to give somebody a birthday present or an anniversary gift, I grow trees in their name.
How nice. Yeah.
And they love it. And they really
Exactly.
appreciate it. The seventh thing that I think we can all do is to please support organizations and institutions that work for the conservation and protection of wildlife and forests in our country. They are extremely underfunded. A vast majority of their funding comes from overseas, which now the current state of the government has made it extremely difficult for them
For
to
the
get
funding
access
to
to.
come. Yeah.
So please, India, rise up for, to secure and
Yeah.
save your own forests.
Yeah. Okay, these are good tips.
Yeah, and the next time
And
you
very
see somebody
doable.
cutting a tree, stop them. Ask them to show you a license. Ask them to show you a letter. Every time I see a pipe leaking on the road, every time I see a tree being cut, every time I see anything that is detrimental or harmful to the environment, I pick up the phone and make the call.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bare minimum we can do.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that everybody can do is to start holding institutions and governments accountable for the air that we breathe. Clean air has to become a vote bank issue,
Yeah, exactly.
especially for the number of deaths it's causing and for the kind of significant rise in all kinds of health related issues, especially in children. You're basically scarring your child's lungs even before they've come to their full.
They're developed, yeah.
Yeah. It's a huge issue.
Sad, yeah.
And I know a lot of people who say, the activists will do it. No, we all have to be
Yeah.
active citizens.
I mean, we're all affected by it. We're all suffering from it. So
Yeah.
we should all.
Yeah, we all need to find a way to do our
Exactly.
bit. Start holding companies accountable. Whatever your medium of expression may be, and whatever that platform accessible to you, and whatever your vocation or your profession may be, use some aspect of it to first strengthen and empower the voices of those who are questioning,
Yes.
and two, use your own voice to question.
Yeah.
Because unless we all come together and speak in a uniform voice to say, we demand cleaner air to breathe, we demand cleaner food and water to drink,
Yeah.
and we demand that we want a climate that supports life
Yeah.
and ensures that these systems continue to
Right,
exist
right.
to be able to support life, nothing is going to change.
Yeah. Being an actor, you have to dress up very often. Who are you wearing now? It's a very pretty dress.
Summer house.
Beautiful. Yeah,
love
summer
their
house has
stuff.
cute dresses and outfits. Anyway, how have your fashion choices changed over the years to align with everything you believe in?
So
And how can other actors and like stylish girls kind of follow this?
I have the world's most amazing stylist,
Yeah.
Thea Tikchandani, who has been my warrior.
Okay.
As an actor in the public space, I have this incredible opportunity to spotlight sustainable brands,
Yeah.
which I do regularly.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to own the clothes that I
Exactly. Yeah.
wear. They're sent to me, I wear them. They're going to get photographed anyway. I might as well do that to highlight and support brands that are up and coming,
Exactly.
that have the right values and
Yeah.
are doing good work. The second thing that I've consciously done over the last 15 years, Pernia, is to try and use local Indian brands even for films. Yeah. As
Even
much
in
as
like in your
possible.
character.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Indian leading women weren't really carrying our culture as a representation on film, unless we were doing like an Indian song.
Exactly.
Or a garba or a dandiya or the wedding.
Yeah.
Then we would be in all our
Indian.
Indian finery. Otherwise, actually, even if you think about the time when Sridevi and Madhuri were like
Yeah,
at the top
at
of
their peak, yeah.
At their peak, they were wearing Western silhouettes.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like Indian women were losing their identity and their ability to recognize the beauty of our textile heritage.
Yeah.
The power of our textile heritage and the stories and the lives that our textile and our craft is connected to.
Yeah. I think what happened was you started associating being modern with being Western.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And this happened with fashion
Yeah, like,
also.
for me,
that if you're
one
a
of-
modern girl, you wear a dress and trousers.
Yeah.
You know, and if
But-
you're a traditional girl, you wear a sari or shalwar kameez. Now,
But
this has
hey,
changed now. But,
You
you know,
think about Amrita Shergill,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, she was
She
like
was
the
a
most modern. Yeah.
I don't think there's a bigger
Yeah.
and a better icon of a
Example.
modern
Yeah.
woman in the 1950s
Yeah,
than she was, right?
Yeah.
How did she dress?
exactly.
She dressed in saris.
Yeah.
Of course, she wore her bikini,
Yeah.
but she wore her saris.
Yeah.
And I think that idea, like, we also kind of tend to limit people and stereotype them. And that's also one of the reasons why I feel the visual medium is so important. Whether it is driving equality or just identity, it's so important for advertising and storytellers to understand that we have this rich tapestry and we need to really start showcasing
Showcasing it. Yeah, exactly. That's so true. I want to talk about your wedding, Dia, because it went viral for all the right reasons.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it's true though. And like you wore a handloom, beautiful handloom sari, and it was raw mango, right? I love raw mango. I love Sanjay. There was a female priest. There was obviously no plastic at this wedding. It was done in a really beautiful, elegant way. Like so. There is a way you can do beautiful weddings without being wasteful, right? That's clearly possible because you've done it.
Yeah.
And now a few people have followed suit, which is also nice. Few famous people also
We've done
after
it
you.
for centuries.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, we forgot that.
Yeah,
and I think you
because
brought it back in a way, you know,
I think
which
we
was nice.
forgot that because we got sucked into mindless consumption, consumerism,
Yeah.
capitalist
Yeah,
world
yeah.
that is making you believe that the only way you can validate your existence is if you're wasteful. Weber and I were both very clear about the fact that we wanted it to be extremely intimate. We wanted to get married in the garden, right here in this building at the back, under my favorite mango tree. And it was 100 people, 60 people wedding actually, with just our immediate family and very close friends in attendance. I was fortunate that my best friend's aunt, who's a pandit, a priestess, was in town, and she agreed to, solemnize our wedding. Every single person in attendance was seated and mesmerized by her. And everyone, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, everyone felt every invocation, every chant. And it wasn't like this tiresome, endless kind of ceremony.
Yeah.
It was 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and we were done. And it was followed by a party. Everybody danced and drank and ate. And we basically hosted a party like our parents would have. Food was served in metalware and drinks were served in glasses.
yeah.
And yeah, it was a zero waste wedding.
Okay, I don't want to end this without talking about your skin and how you look like this.
Are bapre.
Okay, because everyone's told
It's
me
just genetics.
it's just genetics. Don't say
because
that.
I'm the lazy-
Because
I'm-
then people will feel very sad because then they can't copy you or do something to get good skin.
I would be putting up videos about it now if there was anything.
I don't know.
Matlab,
Some
with
people like
great
to keep it a
difficulty, I
secret.
managed to moisturize my skin twice a day.
Really?
Yes. I use sunblock, I use a moisturizer. These are the two skincare products that I use. I'm very careful about what kind of makeup I'm putting on my face.
It's organic.
I would have loved for it to be. Some of it is like my, cheek tint and stuff. Stuff that is accessible and available is. Otherwise, it's, what I've become comfortable with using over the years. Panya, the only thing that I've realized works for health and skin is, of course, the environment and the food that we eat and the exercise that we do. So whether it's dancing every day or walking a minimum of 10 to 15,000 steps a day, strength training really helps, especially for us women in our 40s. You want to kind of strengthen your hip bones, your pelvic base has to get stronger. So yes, there's a lot of mindfulness and consciousness that's come into the way I treat my body and what I eat and what I drink. I don't drink alcohol. I've never done drugs. So it's just like there is such a thing as clean lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I sleep early. I wake up early. I have a very disciplined lifestyle and routine.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of those things really contribute to
Yeah.
your skin health. I meditate every
Yeah.
day.
So mental health
yeah,
also
your
affects skin
reflects skin,
health,
yes.
no? Yeah.
But I have, like, I keep having these surges of autoimmune where, like, I'll get a patch of psoriasis here or like a little bit of psoriasis around my ankles. And I know that majority of these things that are happening to us are environmental. It's because of
External, yeah.
factors like
Yeah.
noise pollution, air pollution. I mean, I can eat clean at home because I know the source of my food. And that's the bare minimum that I have control on.
Yeah.
But I don't have control on where my water's coming from.
So many things, yeah.
Yeah. And I've never
Career.
touched my face. Like, I've never done any kind of
Yeah, but you've not needed
Alterations.
to, clearly, because A, you were blessed, and B, like, I think just a great lifestyle has just supported you over
yeah,
these
it
years.
helps. It really does.
Because you're the only person I've ever done a photo shoot with. We did a photo shoot together many years ago, who I didn't have to touch up in post.
Really?
You are the only actor I've worked with, like not every actor, I've worked
I'm
with
sure
so
you're
many
right.
actors.
But you would have done.
No, I promise you, Dia, we didn't touch you up at all.
What?
I zoomed your face on a screen, to see the makeup and everything. And then I zoomed you back out. We didn't touch you up at all.
Yeah,
You
I
are
would-
the only actor I've worked with who we didn't have to touch up at all. I mean, that's huge, right? That's huge. And now today, everyone's like, please, they want to look like a different person. They're like, touch me up so much, I'm unrecognizable, But that's a huge, like for me, the biggest thing is like being able to take a photograph. Not the biggest thing, but it's so nice to be able to take a photograph and be like, it doesn't need to be touched up.
Yeah. of
That's a
course.
compliment. That's like, okay, I must be doing something right, which doesn't happen to me all the time, but
No, you're beautiful.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, that's a huge thing.
You're a mother now.
Yes.
And I know that we have like a cellular shift
Yeah.
when we have our
Yeah.
children. And I know a lot changed inside you.
Yes.
Because I could feel it in the way
Everything,
you
yeah.
were,
Yeah.
just responding to the world
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah.
Do you worry for your daughter?
Yeah, I do.
And her future?
I worry for my daughter, and I think what has happened is that I've never been very maternal. Like, how my sister's been maternal since she was 3.
Yes.
But I've never really been maternal until I had my daughter. Now it is just like with the suffering, whether, it is hunger or the fact that they're breathing bad air or war or whatever it is, like, I think that level of awareness and empathy for children in particular, I think has really grown. And this is what has shifted in me after being a mother.
And what kind of child would you like to raise for this world?
I think I would like to raise a child who is empathetic, who is strong, very individualistic, who is herself, who doesn't feel like she has to be
Fit in.
or fit in or follow anything. And she's already that. She's a huge personality, knock on wood. And I just let her just do her thing because I want her to be able to explore her own self. And she's very sassy and I love it. I just want her to be whatever she wants to be, honestly. As long as she's a kind person, she's worldly, she's aware. These things are very important to me because sexism, racism, communalism, these concepts, until I was 17, 18, were not in my life. And then when I went to college and then Delhi, Bombay, I started realizing these things and it was very,
Disturbing.
it was very disturbing. Yes, I don't want to shelter her to a point where, she doesn't know that what the real world is, but I do want her to grow up without these concepts, without these things which are so negative that shouldn't really matter in your interaction with anybody,
Whether it's climate action or it's pollution
Yeah.
or environmental degradation, these things, a lot of the onus is put on the youth and young people. That you guys are going to be the change. You
Yeah.
guys are going to...
After ruining their planet, they're like, now
Yeah.
you take care of it.
And I always say
Yeah.
that's so damn unfair.
Yeah.
Why don't we just do our bit and hopefully lead by example?
Yeah, I'm going to have to do that.
It's really unfair to expect our children to fix what we broke.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank
this was
you.
fun.
Thank you.
It was so nice to
Thank you
have
so
a proper
much.
long
I
conversation.
have had an elbow in spasm since last night
Oh no.
because I was juggling a backpack, a birthday present, and my kid who refused to walk.
Yeah, I feel
Like,
you.
carry me, mama,
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. I haven't been able to straighten my arm all day
Oh
today.
God. Women and multitasking, it's amazing. It's like, yeah, I feel you. I do it too all the time. But guys, this time we're going to be supporting homegrown brands. So, you know,
Well, who are you wearing?
yeah, so it's a
beautiful.
brand, isn't it? It's a chicken curry brand called Maharu,
Lovely.
Lucknow.
So beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just, they do saris and all, but they do like some dresses as well. And
It's just stunning.
yeah, it's just so beautiful. So we're going to be supporting homegrown brands, upcoming brands. So 'cause I thought I might as well.
Yeah.
First 2 seasons was like mostly my own wardrobe, which was also fun. But
on you.
yeah, and then these earrings are Unbent, a really cute brand. They do a lot of recycled material as well, and
Yeah.
it's like they call
I've
themselves.
worn them.
You've worn them? They're very popular, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is, I'm like, I have to dress up anyway, so might as
Yeah.
well wear something homegrown and cute. Yeah.
And look stunning.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dia.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you.